we arrive to the phase after the definition of disciplinary background and the basic concept of the environmental history. We arrived to the case studies. How function, how interact a physical environment and society in the historical past. But before the analysis, this is the last definition. I promised for you, this is the last definition. Fernand Braudel, one of the most important historians of the 20th century, defined the concept of time and dividing three dimensions of time. The first one, a short term. Short term means the human deeds no longer than 1 year. For example, this course unfolds in the dimension of short term. We started in September and we will close until the end of January. It's short term. This dimension is a short term. But some human deeds and human activities we can describe only the time dimension of middle term. Middle term, it's because it's a little bit came from the economic history, defined temps de conjoncture, time the recovery, for example, after the crisis. It's a recovery time. It's 1 year to 10 years. It's a 1 decade. For example, your university studies will unfold in the time dimension of middle term. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years long educational period. And long term, this is most interesting, on the case of definition of time concept I spoke about here, a long term, long duration, some process, for example, evolution of religion, Roman Catholic Church, Hinduism, Taoism, and European economic system unfolded a century-long time dimension. This is the long term. Why interesting for us? Because if a physical environment, climate and vegetation and so, physical environment interact with society, it's very different. The nature of interaction if happen in short term, middle term, and long term. Generally, we will analyze middle and long term interaction. But look at a short survey about short term interaction. Look at the short term. Short term, for example, came example from Hungarian history because majority, everybody Hungarian student, and I suppose story of Tatar or Mongolian invasion. It's a very interesting story because Hungarian king Béla IV had information about the invasion because the friar Julian, it's a monk, a Dominican monk, traveled to finding a Hungarian old homeland area. It's quite interesting because a Hungarian traveler, each of Hungarian traveler traveled to finding somehow a Hungarian homeland in Ural mountain area, Volga rivers area, and Siberian area. Everybody. For example, Bakhta-Yervin, Kőrösi Csoma, everybody traveled eastward. Somehow found an original location of Hungarian tribes. I don't know why. No Hungarian who discovered, for example, area of Africa or Americas. Everybody somehow, for historical tradition, found discoveries, direction of discoveries eastward. And when Friar Julian came back, had information about the danger of Mongolian invasion. Finally, in 1242 arrived Mongolian troops. It's a very interesting story, the Mongolian Empire, because it's possible you don't know, the largest empire compared with the British Empire and Chinese Empire and a lot of other Holy Roman Empire, the largest one in the human history was the Mongolian Empire. larger compared with the British Empire. Okay, and we try to describe the history of Mongolian Empire, divided to the chronology of military campaign. Military campaign against China, military campaign against Indian Empire, and military campaign toward Europe. And it's made a plan and a plan of operation long before the real invasion. Therefore, Julian picked information about the planned invasion. A Mongolian, it's very interesting. My guess, first guess today, which was the speed by day a Mongolian? It's a light cavalry, majority of army. How kilometers perform day by day from inner Mongolia? My guess, how many day by day? You have to tell one number. Cheers.
Were you traveling by foot?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Which was the logistical background? How organized the feeding? Living animals, large flocks of sheep and herd of cattle drove beside the light cavalry. Okay? Therefore, slow down a little bit, because the speed of sheep, upper limit of speed, is not so high.
So 15 kilometers.
15. It's quite good approach, because the general speed, average speed, 28 kilometers per day, because it's quite slow. Therefore, receive information, the Hungarian king, and try to organize the defense. And the crucial event of invasion was the battle on Muhi. Battle of Muhi. Probably you know, it's located east northern part of Hungary, near to Miskolc recently, or Eger city, and proportion between the two armies, it's much better, much outnumber Mongolian troops. But knowledges about the local landscape have a Hungarian army. And finally, a Hungarian army lost the battle. And good example, the Battle of Muhi, about the special nature of documentary sources. Because there is a generally accepted principle in the history: one documentary sources, no documentary sources. Why? Because from the Mongolian invasion left only two documentary sources. One, Thomas of Spalato. He was a bishop later, but not in this period. In this period he was only a simple priest, and Rogenius, two employees of Roman Catholic Church. Two sources reflecting each other. And which was the picture which drawn by these priests? That Hungarian army is very badly organized, and the Hungarian king it's discussed and punished a lot of followers of him. Therefore, the atmosphere in the army was very, very bad. And Hungarian army was a badly organized and badly directed army. And very interesting, it's generally accepted. Probably you in the secondary school learn that it's a Battle of Muhi was a consequence of bad military campaign of Hungarian army. But 12 years ago, found the documentary sources of Mongolian army in China, because on the time northern China occupied Mongolian army. And Chinese chronicles wrote down the most important information about each of Mongolian military campaign. And very interesting now and realized the perspective, point of view of Mongolian officer. And from the point of view and from the perspective of Mongolian army, it was a very heavy battle. And the loss of Mongolian army is very high. And was one instant of battle when a general of Mongolian army prepared the plan for turn back and left the country, because so high the proportion of the lost warrior of Mongolian army. But on that time, the best army whole of the world, it's a world champion, was a Mongolian army. And finally, majority of Hungarian army, which performed quite well compared international comparison, lost the battle, because had to fight with the best army whole of the world, which trained year by year in Eurasian area in military campaign. It's most professional army. Moreover, a Hungarian army no experiences with a classical Eurasian military campaign, because the enemies of Hungarian kingdom, the neighborhood, only the neighbor, Czechland, Austria, it's basically different, the custom of military organization and so and so. And why so interesting for us from the point of view of environmental history? First of all, it's very lucky situation. Why? Because a Hungarian king escaped from the battlefield in consequence of Johannit's knights, bodyguards. You know the Johannit's guards, knights. Sorry, you know. It's a order of how the name? It's 3 ords organized. It's not ecclesiastical ords, temple, and the Johannits and the German knights. It's practically the knights in this case were monks. It's no knights, how the name is, a classical knights with great forts and family and clans. No, it's a monks. It's an ord. It's an ecclesiastical ords. And the bodyguards formed this professional circle of warrior monks and saved a king. Majority of bodyguards died on the process of escape. And somebody know which was the final station of escape? On the Adriatic coast, located a small city, even now. The city of Trau. Recently, which is the name? A Croatian name, somebody know? Trogir. I suggest to everybody, it's an excellent place. A historical, classical name was a Trau in the Hungarian history, but recently the Croatian name is a Trogir. One of the most beautiful city, whole of the Croatian sea coast. Okay, a Hungarian king, right, escaped with help of bodyguards, but this is the travel of Julian through the Black Sea, arrived to Hungarians who left in Volga valleys and turned back. Okay, but look at the Battle of Muhi. This is the battlefield of Muhi, which found by archaeologists and found a lot of sign of the battle. And finally, Mongolian troops occupied the northern part of Hungary, Hungarian plain and Transylvania, but wasn't able to occupy the Transdanubian area. Why? Because the winter time arrived quite early. and partly frozen over the Danube. The Danube was a barrier not for the size, because a Mongolian army crossed through the Volga River. It's much larger compared with the Danube. But the winter time arrived quite early and started frozen over the water. But a Hungarian army, the small part of Hungarian army which survived Muhi battle, tried to broken the ice cover, continuously broken the ice cover, that the Mongolian army wasn't able to cross on the river, but applied the Mongolian a strata game. Somebody know? Everybody know which is the strata game? No, Hodicha, strata game. Game, strategical. Okay, strata game. Strata game was that a large herd of cattle, cows, left on the left side of Danube River, alone, without shepherd, without control. It's quite a general law that from the large army lost some 100 cattle, some 100 sheep, because no continuous, it's not possible to take under full control whole of the herds and the flocks of animals. And a Hungarian soldier looked at the other side of the river, more 100 cattle, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and finally decided walking through the ice cover and drawing back the cattle. Of course, the sentinel of Mongolian army realized which is the good direction of going through the river, and followed 1 or 2 hours later whole of the Mongolian army the right way. This is the nature of the strategy, and occupied even the Transdanubian area, burned down. But the following April, whole of the Mongolian army left the country. A lot of discussion there are why. A lot of arguments wrote down about. For example, Great Khan, the leader of whole of Mongolian Empire, died. And therefore, the leader of Hungarian army, Khan Batu, had to go back. It's one argument. The second one, this is the nature of Mongolian invasion. Mongolian invasion generally divided 2 phases. The first phase is the first punch and destroy the structure of the country and back, and the second phase of invasion, which occupied and organized the Mongolian territorial governmental system. And later, 2 decades later, a Mongolian tried to repeat the invasion, but Bela IV reorganized the country and organized a chain of forts around the boundary and stopped the invasion. But look at the first phase. Why a good example, the short-term interaction? Because this year was invasion of Mongolian Empire. If no hard ice cover on the river, the Mongolians not able crossing through the river. Therefore, in mild or milder winter time, there is a chance of survival of population of Transdanubian area. One criterion. The second one, if no Mongolian Empire, no Mongolian invasion, and frozen over the river, no problem. Why? Because the people, the local people walking through the river, no problem. But this became a fatal situation because 2 processes interact. A Mongolian invasion and harsh winter. And in this case, in this consequence was a great destruction of Transdanubian area. It's a good example. Interact one to other and interfere one to other and turn other direction of history. Okay, the second example. Second example from the French history. Probably you know the story of French Revolution. A French Revolution, precondition of the French Revolution, are subsistence system, subsistence crisis. You know which is the subsistence crisis? Subsistence mean létfenntartás. Crisis, létfenntartási krízis. Subsistence crisis. Which are the condition of subsistence crisis? How long able survive a traditional society? And the time span of saving the condition of survival, 7 years. 7 years. You know the story from the Bible. 7 thick and 7 thin cattle. This is the story of Moses. You know story of Moses. Moses solved the dream of Pharaoh. You know this story? No? Okay, everybody. 7 thin and 7 thick cattle. Because 7 thick and 7 thin harvest. Why is so important the 7 years? Because traditional society, very limited capacity are of conservation. Which is the possibility of conservation? For example, digging cereals under the soil. But in consequence of, for example, local rodents, you know which is the rodents, it's a mice or other rodents ate large part of the digged cereals. The second one lost the content, lost the feeding content of cereal, take to the granary or under the soil. This is 2 or 3 years. It's an upper limit of conservation. The second one, the second form of conservation, making cheese. Cheese. Somebody visited in the Netherlands? No? But it's possible you watched a cheese market. Which is the normal size of the Dutch cheese? 2-3 meters. Why? Because really it's a concept. Really this is a team. And the outer part of the cheese, it's drying. Therefore, necessary to make large cheese, because the upper part of cheese is dry, not able for feeding, but majority, the proportion with losing and gaining, it's much better if you increase the size of cheese. Okay, this is the second one. And the fourth version of conservation, feeding with animals. In the traditional time, the things was the animals. But quite moderate the proportion of gaining, because the animals not only feed but shitting similarly. Therefore, the proportion of cereals which using for the body, the grass and the meat, only 30 or 35%. Any other losing. And upper limit of conservation with animals is 7 years. Therefore, good example, the story of French Revolution. Because this is a rank list, this is the series of devastation and agrarian crisis. The first year, 83, very hot summer. It's very bad for the agriculture. Next one, extremely cold winter and droughty summer. Next one, fodder failure during the springtime. Droughty summer, very cold winter. And recon. 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88 and 89. 7 years. Expired the stock of agrarian society. And not by chance that cruelty of French Revolution was extreme. It's possible you saw a TV series and movies about the French Revolution. Applied a very efficient innovation of guillotine, you know. It somehow mechanized the killing of people, and almost one-third of French nobility died in consequence of guillotine. Therefore, the following king, Louis XVIII, defined the condition of the French nobility. We are like a potato, the majority and the best part under the soil of French nobility. Okay, very important. It's a little bit longer dimension. It's a border case toward a middle turn, that crisis and political crisis and the agrarian crisis interact with other. Okay, the third example, Irish potato famine. Somebody know the story of Irish potato famines? Nobody? Nobody. Okay. About the Irish potato famine, you need to know that Ireland was a first colony of England, because on the British Isle there are beside England 3 Celtic countries. This is the main British Isle and Ireland. The first one is a Wales. It's a Wales. Wales was the first Celtic country which occupied by English troops. You know the story. Arany János wrote a very famous poem about it. Edward King is how the name? It's riding with his horse. It's not a literature translation. Hungarian version is Edward Király, Angol Király. It's happened in the 13th century, occupied. But occupation became very steady based on common interest. It's hilly area which dominate animal husbandry, and animals, cattle and ships exported to England, to London, and the basin of London. And population of London, even in the 17th century, 500,000, it's unbelievable large country. On the time, in the 17th century, population of England was 6 million, and population of England is 500,000. It's a voter head, it's a real voter head, was a little bit same situation like recently in Hungary, because Budapest and the outskirts of the Budapest living, it's large outskirts of Budapest, living recently 2.5 million people. And population of Hungary under 10 million. It's a voter head situation. But this is the same situation in the case of French history. Recently, population more or less is 60 million of population of France, and population of Paris 10 million. Same proportion, a little bit. The nobility of Wales and merchant of London connected the common interest, exported the animals, and the large city, the inhabitant of large city, ate everything. Okay, the common interest. Not by chance, the province of first prince of English royal family is the owner of the Wales, Prince of Wales. This is the followers of the king in the royal family. Okay, the second one, Scotland. It's another Celtic country. Other Celtic country which connected to England voluntary. Not for occupation, voluntary. Why? Because it's peripheral area. It's a very peripheral area, and the interest connected close. Connected close to rich southern part of the British Isles. But voluntary, not for invasion, consequence of invasion. And Ireland was the third Celtic country which occupied, like a colony. This was the first colony of England. And the English English landlords made a truncated society. You know which is the truncated society? Csokatásadalom. Truncated society. It's a trunk. It's cut down. A truncated society means a traditional society described generally as a pyramid. On the top of the pyramid there is a king or royal family. The second one, nobility. Generally in European average, the proportion of nobility changed between 1 to 2%. The next one, citizenry, bourgeoisie, other word, and majority of society, peasant. And small groups out of society, for example, beggars, immigrants, and heretics, and any others. But this is the basic strategy. Nobility, citizenry, and peasantry. In consequence of occupation of Ireland, it's divided two parts. The upper part of society, king and nobility and citizenry, became English or Scottish. English or Scottish. Moreover, Protestant. Not only the identity, the national identity divided two parts of society, but the religious identity too. Moreover, in this period, majority of Irish population spoke a Celtic dialect, but recently assimilated the Welsh people and the Scottish people and the Irish people speaking English. Sometimes it's very surprising. I remember I visited for one conference in St. Andrews. It's a good place. This is the University of the Royal Family. I didn't met personally nobody, but it's not interesting. But very interesting was when I bought a train ticket in Edinburgh. And I tried to communicate to the officer, and I didn't understand any words, because there is a very harsh Scottish dialect. You know the name of Alex Ferguson? He was a manager of Manchester United. And one of his players, Cristiano Ronaldo, arrived from Portugal. He was a Portuguese, recently he's a Portuguese. And when arrived to Manchester United, in the instruction of Alex Ferguson, didn't understood, and asked the local English players, translate please, because I am a foreigner and so, and told to him, local English people, sometimes we are not able to understand what speak the Ferguson, because so far the dialects. Not by chance, if you open, for example, the Word editor and open the Grammarly corrector, and there are at least 10 different versions of the Grammarly, because basically different, the American English basically different, the Scottish and so, very far from one to other. Okay, turn back to story. The lower part of society, it's a truncated society, is Irish speak Celtic language, the upper part Protestant, and the whole of the Irish society Catholic. Therefore, a lot of conflict between us. And majority of estate occupied by Scottish and English landlords. Therefore, for the Irish peasant left only very, very tiny estate. And when arrived the potato, you know which is the potato? The carrying capacity, you know which is the carrying capacity? Okay, everybody know? Okay, carrying capacity of wheat, rye, and barley, the cereals, one, and carrying capacity of potato is sixfold higher. Therefore, in consequence of small size of peasant state, whole of the Irish society turned to the potato production. Why? Much higher, and potato able for feeding, making spirit, short drinks, making everything almost. It's a very good buffer feeding. But great geographical discoveries not only traveling the humans, the people, the animals, but the sickness and the epidemics similarly, like in the COVID-19 we enjoyed some years ago. And after the potato, which bred in Americas, in central and southern part of Americas, some years ago arrived epidemics of Phytophthora infestans. It's a fungi infection. Everybody know which is the fungi? Gumbo. There are three forms of the infection: bacterial, virus, and fungi infection. Bacterial, virus, and fungi. Fungi infection. Okay. Which is the ideal condition of the fungi infection? Warm and humid weather. Warm and humid weather. This is the triggering effect. Everybody know which is the triggering effect? A trigger, this is the small trigger of shotgun, and the triggering effect means you do some small and moderate operation, but launch a chain of interaction you are not able to stop. Not enough taking the head on the shotgun because it's a bullet, it's go through on your hand. Irish potatoes, Irish population live in monoculture of potato. Arrived the infection, and everywhere the harvest is down. It's a great harvest devastation. It's happened the same whole of Europe, but any other places, Baltic area and the German area, are potato, only one agriculture, plant of agriculture, beside the rye, beside the barley, beside the wheat. Therefore, no danger, no catastrophic situation, but in Ireland, no other way, only potato. Every Irish peasant specialized only potato, and launched a great famine. This is the sculpture about the Irish potato famine history on the central square of Dublin, capital of Ireland. Look at the consequences. Look at the consequences. Generally, people no die in hunger directly. Why? Because the shortage and the famine only destroy the immunity of body. But the real killer, epidemics. Nobody died, almost nobody died in the Middle Ages in famine. Because the famine only weakened the immunity of the body, and real killer were the plague, the typhus, and the malaria, and a lot of epidemics. The same happened in the case of Ireland. Population of Ireland before the Irish potato famine, 8.4 million. You can check in recently population of Ireland under 8 million. Never reached the same high number. Why? Because almost 1 million of Irish died on the time of potato famine. Not for hunger, for different epidemics. The second one, almost 1 million, emigrated everywhere. One of the most important targets of emigration was East Coast of United States. If you like, for example, Hollywood movies, it's quite a typical scene, Brooklyn, Irish district, and the story in the Irish communities. And for example, there is a HBO series about the Irish worker on San Francisco, and so on. So lot of Irish story there is in the other coast of the Atlantic Ocean. One other direction, Australia. It's an open area discovered on the time of great age of discoveries, and the third target is Scotland. Scotland. England, nobody traveled and migrated to England, but Scotland was quite a typical, not so far, only other side of the channel, and quite same Celtic population. The most important danger was on the difference between the religion. You know what mean the guiding force? Guiding force. Nobody? Guiding force. No real good Hungarian translation. Guiding force, we can translate mozgatóerő, but a little bit more, which direct force, guiding force, which organized the world. And each period there is a guiding force. For example, in the Middle Ages, the most important guiding force was a social status, a social position. For example, if somebody was a nobleman, it's directed the trajectory of life, whole of the life. If somebody was born as bourgeoisie, member of bourgeoisie, a citizen, it's same trajectory. If peasant, follow the same trajectory. And the majority of conflict, other guiding force, are religion. The people kill each other for religious reason. Look at, for example, the story of crusade. A crusade. More 100,000 people killed for differences in the religion. But which is the most important guiding force recently? The nationality. The people kill each other, some area, at least, for different, connected to the different nation. Okay, turn back to the story. Went to the Scotland and founded NGOs. It's a non-governmental organization, local NGOs. Why? Because he wasn't a citizen of Scotland, newcomers. Somehow would try to fortify local identity. And the most successful Irish NGO in Scotland was a football club. Somebody know which was this football club? Celtic Rangers. Celtic Rangers. This is Irish football club. And very interesting, somehow the sport is a symbolic space. And a symbolic space for the rivalry. Somehow it's described, for example, the rivalry in the sport. This is the imitation of war. But generally nobody died in the sport rivalry. But in the Scottish Championship, even though focused to the rivalry between the Celtic Rangers, Celtic immigrants, Irish immigrants, and the Glasgow Rangers, the local Protestant football club. And majority of these championship won, the first one Glasgow and the second one Celtic Rangers. That is a rivalry. And any other European championship, we can follow the same situation. Look at, for example, the Spanish championship. Barcelona, Catalonian identity, and the imperial interest follower, Real Madrid. Or local, for example, the Basque football club, Athletic Bilbao. Local identity, focused, and for example, it's possible, you know, the definition of Johan Cruyff, who founded the style of Barcelona, that the FC Barcelona, not a football club, this is the army of Catalonia. But a little bit same situation in Hungary. In Hungary, somebody know which Hungarian football team won the most gold medal of Hungarian championship? Ferencváros, the first one, and which is the second one? Even know. MTK. Even know the second one, MTK. And which background are behind the Ferencváros? Germany. its other name of Ferencváros, Franzstadt, because between the two world wars, it was a bilingual district of Budapest. And very interesting, a Hungarian championship dominate the football club two ambitious minority, Jews and Germans. A French, MTK, which founded by a very ambitious in assimilation Jews trader, and a small owner and small citizen of Franzstadt founded Ferencváros, and dominate these minorities. But very interesting, when sociologists analyzed the players of identity of players who played in these clubs, and more Jews players played in the Ferencváros than in MTK. But it's consequence that in the forming of team, it's not important the identity, but much more important the skills and capacity and intellectual power. Okay, turn back to this story. Anyway, why interesting this story? Because Irish society, in consequence of potato monoculture, was very fragile. Because one pillar-based system, it's very fragile because it's broken down. Whole of the agriculture, it's broken down and launch a subsistence crisis. But the triggering effect was this year, 1846, very warm and very humid. And for fungi, this is the ideal condition for proliferation. Okay, and the last story. The last story necessary to tell some subtitle for that. I finished my university studies in 1988, before the internet, before the modern computers, and if somebody tried to communicate with each other, necessary to write letter, take to the envelope, and send by postal service. Unimaginable. And when I finished my university studies, I specialized to environmental history, climate history, and translated my summary of my studies to French, because all the time I spoke only in French, and sent to professor of climate history to Bern University. Walk to the post, take to the envelope, and two option by par avion, because the language of postal service is French. It's very interesting, because founded in the 18th century when the cultural language was French. And 2 weeks later, I received back a similar envelope. This was the rhythm of communication, more months long term necessary for discussing only one problem. And Professor Pfister sent back one message to me that excellent, very interesting for it, and organized an international conference to Mainz, it's Germany, and invite me. But invitation didn't mean that finance my expenses, only invited. And I was in the lowest rank in the academic ladder. It's lowest salary, lowest connection, everything lowest one. And sent back a message that excellent, I would like to participate in the conference, but unfortunately, because the conference, this is the one kind of the tourism, because necessary to pay conference fee, necessary to organize lodging in the hotel, and consummation for interest of survival. Send back the letter, a message that unfortunately I am only very early phase of my academic career, no money, no nothing. Receive a 2 weeks later answer, no problem, wrote Christian Pfister, and I organized that not necessary to pay a fee of conference. I sent back a message, thanks a lot, I'm very, very, very happy and so and so, but unfortunately I have no money for lodging. Okay, received 2 weeks later a message that no problem, discussed with the Foundation of Education, and the Foundation of Education will finance my lodging in a small hotel. This is the basic condition of the survival, because if you traveled, I suppose you traveled in the hotel price contained the breakfast. One standard feeding by day. And for breakfast it's possible to eat 3,000 or 4,000 calories if no other option for the survival. Okay, I received back the letter, I sent my new message, last message in this operation, that I am very glad that it's a great chance of my career and my life, but unfortunately I no pay for the ticket of train. 2 weeks later I received 2 tickets, one go and one back, because probably Christian didn't want to save me on his institute. Okay, I arrived to this conference finally, and I walk alone from Hungary. One other Bulgarian colleague participated on this conference. I was alone. And I walked to breakfast, which was a crucial element of my survival, and somebody told to me that good morning with spirit. It's a Hungarian version, jó pálinkás jó reggelt. And my first impression was it's hallucination, because former evening was a great opening evening of the conference, and the free consummation of very bad quality of Australian wine. And with my Bulgarian friend, we opened at least 5 bottles and consumed. And I imagine that this is the first consequence of over drinking and hallucination. But repeated the pálinkás jó reggelt, and I tried to find the source of the voice, and realized that these people named Yehuda Naim. Other shortened Hungarian version, Naim János. It's not the mathematician, it's a meteorologist, but came from Budapest, emigrated from Budapest. And very interesting, he was a Jew, and changed his name according to Jews' version, and he survived the Holocaust with great luck, because his family escaped from Hungary, and he only elementary school closed and performed in Hungary, and only some words was able to communicate in Hungarian, and we continue in French, because this was my French period. And he told to me a very interesting story, that during the Second World War, only 2 countries was possible to survive the Holocaust. 2 countries were occupied by and connected to the German Empire, the Third Empire. The first one, Bulgaria. On Bulgaria, the Bulgarian Jews minority survived. Why? Because a Gestapo, it's a political, how the name is, which is the good translation of Gestapo, this political police. It's acceptable anyway. It's well organized organization was, but no perfect. And wasn't able to realize that ambassador of Bulgaria in Berlin was a former Jew who converted to Christian. But before he was a Jew. And no message about the organization of Holocaust sent to Sofia. Take to the cupboard. And Bulgaria very far from Germany, and nobody realized that every other countries connected to Germany organized the Holocaust, separation of Jews, and nobody received information about it. And Gestapo wasn't able to discover it. It's very simple condition, save or kill the people. Ambassador of Bulgaria no passed the order about the separation of Jews and sending to the death camp, and Bulgarian survived. The other country, somebody know which was the other country? No? Denmark. Denmark is very close to Germany, but in Denmark had a very important tradition of independence. How translate this independence for the practical everyday deeds? It means that it's a kingdom. Denmark is a kingdom. Generally, I am a follower of Republican heritage, but some exception. It's function much better, the royal organization. It's happened in Denmark because the Holocaust is a long process. The first step, separation of Jews with yellow star taking on the clothes. There is a medieval tradition of the separation with different signs, and king, it's 14, Kereszti the 14, draw, it's a yellow star on the cloth, and walk on the street, and each member of royal family, and each Danish people, and everybody on the street walk on yellow stars. That didn't function, the separation. This was the first presentation of independence. The second one, because the Gestapo know a place of free debate and started to organize closing to the camp and physical separation of Jewish community. Danish police organized a chain of message and inform each Danish Jews. Somebody visited in Denmark? No? A lot of small islands, very fractated sea coast, and very interesting. Very interesting and geographically very interesting country. It's hiding in this country not so difficult because a lot of small islands everywhere. Organize the chain of message and receive each Danish Jews information walking the closest harbor. The closest harbor. And Danish ships transported them to Sweden. And Sweden was an independent country. And one of the most important producers of raw material and different arms to the German army, Wehrmacht. Therefore, a Danish Jews was a safe place in Sweden. And very interesting, and the last trick, when the Jews, Danish Jews, survived the Holocaust without hurt, turned back to Denmark, everybody received a salary for uncomfortable situation that necessarily left the lodging, the local buildings. It's a logic, a real Teutonic, real German logic, necessary compensate everybody. It's not able to leave a comfortable situation. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Two countries survived. Okay, Yehuda Naiman was a meteorologist. It's a typical natural science education was. He worked in Copenhagen University and the Meteorological Service of Copenhagen. A typical meteorologist, made a forecast, weather forecast, and climate analysis, and so on and so. And quite general in scientists after the closing a real career and became a pensioner, that find a hobby researches, and he specialized to hobby historical researches. For example, analyzed the Nile flood in Egypt, which was the riddle. And the meteorologist looking a different perspective to the documentary sources compared with the historian. Or analyzed, for example, the climate and the weather on the time when Hannibal crossed through the Alps with the elephants, for example. And the last research project of him was analysis of Second World War. Why? Because interested for personal reason. And this was the story of invasion of Barbarossa. Barbarossa, you know the name of the emperor who named this plan, Friedrich Barbarossa. You know the story of his death. Why named the Plan Barbarossa? Because Friedrich Barbarossa died in crusade in Anatolia. And there is a legend about the Friedrich Barbarossa that waiting in the cave of Anatolia with his knights on the round table, a little bit Arthur story with German version, sitting around the round table with the knights, and in critical situation of German army, riding up and save the German soldier. This was the mythical background behind Plan Barbarossa. Okay, launched the Plan Barbarossa. Per week, more 100 kilometers occupied in Russia. Move. Very quickly. More million Russian soldier or Soviet soldier close to the prison and arrive close to the Moscow, Leningrad, and the Black Sea and Caucasus. And the invasion frozen dome. Why? Because in Russia, Ukrainian war demonstrate well, there are only two seasons of communication. Summertime, when drying up the landscape, and winter time, when frozen down, for example, a great river, and a snow cover open the way for communication, for skating, for example, or generally the place of communication, frozen over. Springtime and fall time, or autumn, other word, no chance for communication. Why? No roads, no railway network, and the longer rain transform a muddy surface, all of the landscape. Like, even the 21st century happened in Ukraine. But much more happened on the time of Second World War. Not by chance, summer phase of invasions, it's very successful. But arrived Rasputitsa is a mud period, and slow down mobile Wehrmacht, mobile German army. But the following winter, which imagined the German generals will continue the invasion, was the fourth coldest winter in St. Petersburg. It's a meteorological observation. Somebody know which is recently in Hungary, which is the average temperature of winter? December, January, and February. Okay, I am advantage situation because I am public geographer. Winter time, before the great speed of global warming, it's mean 1918, 17 in the past century, plus 0.5 Celsius degree. Whole of the year is average temperature. Sometimes it's minus, but average these three months, December, January, and February, plus 0.5 Celsius degree. Only 1 month, it's a January, is a minus. It's a minus 0. Celsius degree before the global warming. Before. Recently, I suppose that no season average temperature under zero. Okay. Why important? Because on that period, in Moscow and in Leningrad, the average of winter temperature was sorry, it's a point, it's a Hungarian custom, minus 16.2 Celsius degree. It means it's average which takes summarize to average a minus 40 and a minus 2. Not by chance, this is the losing list of German army. 140,000 died in the battle. 40,000 disappeared, no information about the reason of death. And 150,000 starved with cold. For freezing, for starvation, no detailed information. But the proportion of loss, the same like died in the battle. Moreover, it's named in the art of war. This is the general winter. General winter name this effect of the military operation. Moreover, something happened in 7th December. 7th December. Somebody know what happened in 7th December? Pearl Harbor. The Japanese army attacked a military base of Pearl Harbor. Why so important? Because on the time, whole of China under Japanese occupation. And the continental army of Japan was on Soviet boundary. So boundary of Soviet Union, on Chinese side. Therefore, the Soviet general, afraid from the two-front operation, which happened on the case of Germany. And when 7th December, Japanese generals and the emperor decided the main direction of invasion against the United States, it's clarified no probability of Chinese invasion from the direction of China by Japanese army. Therefore, the Siberian army of Soviet Union turned over European part of Soviet Union. And if you know, for example, the movie Enemy on the Gates, for example, or Stalingrad, the Siberian troops won the Battle of Stalingrad. Therefore, this was a turning point on the history of war. Good. Okay, close this survey, short survey about the case studies in the short-term dimension. But look at the longer dimension of human and the physical environment interaction. If we are looking at the history of interaction between society and human society and the humankind, it's a using a general concept, two actors, we can calculate with two actors. Earth as a surface of human evolution and the humankind. Some basic information about the Earth. If we are looking at the Sun system, there are two groups of planets. There are Earth-like planets. It's a Mars, Venus, Earth, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. This is the inner part of the Sun system. And other planets, no form steady materials, is a Jupiter, Saturn, and the other, it's a gas planets, therefore no steady materials form. But around them, there are moons which form a similar raw material, like for example, around the Jupiter there is a very good and ideal place for the space project. It's named Europe Moon. Probably you know the story, because a large surface of the Europe Moon formed frozen water. And from frozen water, very easy made oxygen, because it's... okay, other story. Which are the peculiarity of Earth? This is the largest. Very easy to compare, largest one. The second one, it's a formed 54 billion years ago. It's a billion, it's American. English, that's according to British English, million, of course. Highest density, highest surface gravity, strongest magnetic field, and fastest rotation are the peculiarities. Okay, look at the chemical composition of the Earth. Iron is the largest one, but majority of iron located in the core area. And very important, and call your attention, the second one is oxygen. Not by chance, the life we made, and we are the most important frame of our survival, oxygen. This is the second highest proportion are in the elements of Earth: silicon, magnesium. I boiled it as a sulfur, because the first form of life is a sulfur-based life, was 3.8 million or billion years ago. And photosynthesis appeared much later. And the majority of first form of life based on sulfur killed. It's very interesting, formed two phases alive on the Earth. And nickel, calcium, aluminium, trace element. Good. We are living in the third atmosphere of Earth. And no, I didn't take it. But very important to mention that the Earth is not alone, not a lonely planet. If we thinking about the Earth, very important to a smaller brother, a moon around the Earth. Why so important? It's happened, I remember, 4.2 million years ago. It was a great crash, and a Mars-like planet or protoplanet collided with the body of Earth, and in consequence of collision increased the temperature of Earth. It's named a fire Earth. It's very heavy, all of that, and the magnetic field of early Earth, it's closed and fixed around a trajectory of Earth. Why so important? Because it's very easy and very funny looking the moon, but it's much more important, because the trajectory of Earth, around the moon, around the sun, sorry, it's quite late, around the sun, stabilized, mechanically stabilized the turning around a moon. Therefore, the precession, it's a changing of axis of Earth, is very moderate. Therefore, if without moon, very high the probability that time by time the axis on the surface of trajectory around the sun, it's maybe changing much more. What mean in the practical life? For example, 1 year we are living in the temperate climate, and other year in the tropical climate. Therefore, the steady physical condition of life basically made by a mechanical stabilizing function of the moon. Therefore, the moon is very important in the history of the formation of life. Very important to mention that appearance of water, but majority of water, large majority of water, 97.5% of water, saline water, only 2.5% fresh water. And majority of fresh water are in the ice cover, in the polar ice cover and the mountain glacier. But my question, which is the largest container of fresh water? Soil. very surprising, the soil is the largest container of fresh water, the soil. Therefore, it's possible, I told to you, that therefore very dangerous increasing of anthroposphere. I spoke about it, not? No, I didn't. Why? Because anthroposphere, then the human-made landscape make desert. Why? Because the most important operation, asphalted surface, everywhere. Therefore, no chance for water, it's moving down to the soil. Because the dikes and the asphalted surface, it's driving the water, the rain, and generate the water to the, for example, in the case of Szeged, to the direction of Tisza. Therefore, under us, not on the downstairs, but under the asphalted surface, there are a desert, a soil, dead soil, without any form of water, any form of humidity. Therefore, the asphalting consequences that no life under the cities, and if the city is larger, it's kill more larger proportion of the soil, and no chance for recultivation for short term. Not by chance, for example, happened in the parking place of this building that one day a large tree is down because it's poured water day by day. That's not enough because under us there is a desert, and the poured water disappeared for one instant on the desert and the dry frame of soil under the asphalted surface. Therefore, making civilization is a killing a physical environment. But it's possible, I told to you, that when I received a fellowship to the Christian Fichter, but I tell a story about her, 1 year later invited me to the Institute of Bern University, and very interesting that my fellowship, which I received as a beginner in the academic life, was higher than recently the salary of university professor. It's a very strange situation that tell a lot about the reason of emigration, but okay, I'm over yet. But very interesting, I lived in the student hostel. Somebody living in student hostel? No? Which kind of student hostel? Mura. Okay, but very interesting. I spent my late part of my childhood and early adult period a different student hostel. Possible I told you, no? Cockroach story, okay. And I am able living together with everybody, almost everybody. And when I arrived to Switzerland with director of student hostel, I negotiated about the condition of lodging and passed at least half hour when I realized that in the student hostel in Switzerland, no chance living together, because each room alone. Only there are differences between the service. For example, a little bit higher price. It's a room with bathroom and with shower and without shower, and it's basically different dimension. But I started the story by I spoke about which was the topic. Because I lost the not important.
The fresh water. Yeah, the soil.
Yeah. Okay. First time when I met with the feminism, it happened at the beginning of the 90s. That on beside my room was a common used bathroom with two toilets, male or female. But it was a theoretical separation, but sometimes I had to go to the female version because other one occupied. And on the male version, the wall is clean. In the female, a lot of graffiti. It's ambitious feminist graffitis. And some was very good humor. It's quite rare in German area. But for example, one graffiti in the female toilet, which I remember and very easy to understand, which is the name the women who know the place of husband every time. Widow. Okay. Then, next step. We are living in the third atmosphere. The first one on the fire planet period, helium and hydrogen, not by chance because the raw material of sun, helium and hydrogen. The second one appeared the nitrogen, which is the dominating element of recent part. This was the second atmosphere, and after appearance of bacterial and later plant-based photosynthesis appeared approximately 3 million years ago, a billion years ago, a classical structure of atmosphere, nitrogen, oxygen, argon, carbon dioxide and vapor. Okay, we will continue in the next week with this slide. Thanks a lot for your attention, and I ask your patience for 1 minute for reading a list of participants. Yeah, and other graffiti was in the toilet that save the plants, kill vegetarians. Yes.